listening to this broadcast. You're a part of the resistance.
The cure for your Monday blues is right here. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. My name is Enfys Nest. No, it isn't. Thankfully. My name is John Hoey. Thanks for joining the Resistance today. Unlike last Monday, we are going to talk a lot about Solo today as the movie hits theaters next month, only 7 weeks away. So hopefully you have thawed out of your carbon freeze chambers and are ready to talk Solo with us today. Joining me to talk Solo and other stuff, as always, is James Bainey. What's going on, man?
I've got it, Father. The black lung. No, for some reason, I don't know. I never get sick, but I feel sick. So pardon and if my voice sounds weird, which I doubt it will. And if I didn't tell you, you would have never noticed. But I'm feeling a little achy, but we're going to do this. I'm actually really excited to talk about Solo.
You're just in character and you were spending too much time in the spice mines of Kessel. So you got the spice lung.
I've got it, Mimbins.
Oh my God.
And always putting his Ahmed best foot forward, it's Bill Sheehy. What's up, Bill?
I don't know how it's possible, but I got sunburnt in 65-degree weather in the middle of Washington, D.C. I'm not 100% sure how that happened, but I'm kind of feeling the pain right now. But what's getting me through it is Awesome Con and being on this podcast right now. I am so ready to talk some Star Wars and to talk some Enfys Nest.
Yeah, Enfys Nest indeed. I don't know if he gets sun. Maybe you need an Enfys Nest mask so you don't get sunburned.
That would probably be helpful.
Somebody send Bill an Enfys Nest
Please.
mask, please. And they're laughing and back again after such a warm response from all of you out there after her debut last week. What is going on, Lacey Gillerin?
Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I was very surprised that people actually cared what I had to say. It's a good start. It's a good start. I also met Bill this weekend.
Yeah.
And I want everyone on the podcast to know that I sent a photo to everyone saying, please return this. I do not want it.
And guess what? You couldn't return it. You just couldn't.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
No receipts for sunburnt gingers.
Thank
Sorry.
I'm not sunburnt. Where were you that you were sunburnt? We were inside of a building.
I went to the Washington Monument, okay?
Oh, boy.
I was too busy
All right.
hanging out in the Lucasfilm exhibit to get sunburned.
Ooh.
See, that sounds way better. No sunburn and at the Lucasfilm exhibit. That sounds way better than the Washington Monument.
It's true.
And the world premiere of a Porg. They had
That's
an
true.
actual Porg there. It was the first time they had it in public.
That
it was amazing.
I was really excited to see that.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, speaking of Porgs, they were not a part of Star Wars March Madness. But we are entering round 4 of Star Wars March Madness, and we have 4 characters left, the final 4, and this is an all-family matchup right here. You have father and daughter, father and son on the other side. So it's Leia versus Darth Vader, which we are posting right now. You can vote on that matchup right now, and tomorrow we will be posting Han Solo versus Kylo Ren. So pretty cool dramatic matchups there. We are down to the Solos and the Skywalkers to decide who is the coolest Star Wars character of all time. Be sure to go vote. And again, keep your eyes on your brackets because when we get through the championship, we will tally up to see which of you who submitted a bracket had the highest point total to win a Resistance Broadcast t-shirt of your choice. But the fate is in your hands, so go vote now. James, it is time for the Newsnet.
This just in. According to a listing on Amazon, the description for the upcoming Most Wanted novel by Ray Carson, the story looks like it's going to center on Han and Kira in their teenage years, making their way in the criminal underground until they find themselves working for the same boss and in turn teaming up to run from them, another crime syndicate, and the Empire to boot. Lacey, I'm going to ask you first. Are you a reader of these young adult novels?
10 out of 10 would read this.
10 out of 10.
I'm also picturing Benny Hill music of them like dun 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 dun, like just running around. But I'm totally in. I'm in for this. Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Bill, the synopsis kind of reminded me of the trailer for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We think they're against each other, but they actually end up teaming up. Did this synopsis give away too much of the story, in your opinion?
Not really. I kind of expected this from Solo. I knew she is going to be somebody that was, important to him, and obviously they're working together in some capacity in the trailer. So it kind of makes sense to me that this is where they're coming from, and it if anything, it gets me more excited for Solo because I think it's such an interesting dynamic to put them together, and even though they're different people, they're going after the same thing and they have similar goals. So I always enjoy stories like that.
The book is, you're saying that the book gets you excited for Solo. That was my question to John. I'm going to say, do you think this book is an essential, reading book to leading into Star Wars Solo?
No, man. I think for some people, they'll say that it has to be or whatever, especially the people who are making money off of the book sales.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we all kind of talked about this when we saw the teasers and we started trying to put the pieces together ourselves that this is the beginning of the movie. They kind of look like they're younger, and they always try to make actors look young by putting bangs on them because it hides the foreheads. So anytime you see bangs on a character, it's like, unless they're Jim Halpert, it's like, that's the younger version of that character. So it's like, it's a trope that I've seen in movies that I buy into. It's like a John Cusack movie where they're younger and you see them together and then they go opposite ways and she becomes successful and he's still a dirtbag because he's stubborn. And then they're going to meet 5 years down the road and they're going to have two different paths in life, and that's what's going to go down. And I don't necessarily think this book is going to help us understand that better, because I think it's just one of those things where it's like, come read this book just because we made it.
Yeah, that's true. I read all the books. The only thing I haven't read at this point right now is the second half of From a Certain Point of View and the Cobalt Squadron. And part of that is because just doing a lot of other stuff, I just haven't made it yet, but I will be reading it. I read everything, man. Unfortunately, I don't know what it is. I got to soak it all in.
Well, that's all good, man.
That is not the only Solo news this week, though. We have newer, old Legends characters possibly making their canon debut.
Oh.
Now, this is kind of a loose rumor, but the Spanish site lafasadelrancor.com
I like that. La Fasa del Rancor.
These are the guys who kept posting the pictures at the Fuerteventura set.
Yeah. They have a source, and they're saying that the alien species native to Mimban will be showing up in Solo, a Star Wars story. The Mimbanites have a long backstory that does actually somewhat match up with what we know about the film so far, so this might actually be happening. Side note, the report also made some claims about the acting coach we heard about back in the day, saying that it wasn't so much about his talent as an actor, but more of a dialect coach. So let's start with the Mimbanites before we get into all that. Bill, if you're going to make a planet canon, is it important or not to keep the continuity with Legends by bringing the home species to life in the movies? And follow up, do you think the reason we went to Mimban was because these particular species of aliens plays an important role in the movie?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily essential to keep it in continuity with Legends because they've thrown all that out. So, I mean, they can cherry pick whatever they want. So it's not necessarily essential to me. It's really, really cool. But I don't think that they're going to play an important role in the story as a whole. I think they're going to be similar to, Tito on Jakku, or all the people that were on in the background in Jakku, play a role in that. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to play an essential role, but I think that it's definitely cool to see them in the background, especially if you read Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Mm-hmm. John, do you believe this report? I mean, do you think this is a credible source? It's enough maybe to write an article and maybe talk a little bit about it on the show, but should fans expect to see these aliens in the movie?
Yeah, why not, right? Because I think it was Leland Chee who pretty much declared oh, you're going to be seeing more Legends characters coming out. You won't believe it. Mm-hmm. And then there's only one Star Wars movie coming out this year, so you figure that's got to be involved in Solo in some factor, so this would make sense. As far as Mimbans and they're weird looking, and I know We already see action figures of Han and Chewie all mudded out with chains on them. So maybe these Mimbinites or Mimbinians or whatever they're called
Mimbinians.
are gonna, yeah, banana.
Banana.
They're gonna keep them like captive or something. They're gonna have to bust out, and maybe Chewie rips a couple of their arms off or something like that. The whole acting coach thing keeps coming back, man. So there has to be some kind of validity there. But I don't think it's acting coach. I think it's like they've been saying. It's we need him to maybe get some mannerisms down and that kind of thing, to put it in the pocket a little bit. Like we're not expecting to see Harrison Ford, but we need some kind of connection there. Like, you're not going to bring in a new James Bond and him be like, "Hello, everybody, I'm James Bond, eh?" You know?
Hello, puppet.
I'm Dobby, I'm James Bond. You're not going to do that. So there you go. So you need some kind of a change in maybe some dialect and facial expressions, that sort of thing. So I think that's true, but not as grandiose as people are trying to make it out to be.
So wait a minute. That was your Ram Bergman?
You are 2 for 2 on Ram Bergman.
No. My Dobby voice. My Dobby voice is my
Your
Daisy Ridley
Dobby?
voice.
Your Dobby
It's
voice?
Dobby.
Your
My
Dobby
Dobby
voice?
Dobby.
Okay, I was about to say.
Dobby is a free elf. It's Dobby.
Okay, let's not do impressions ever again.
Adobe Creative Suite with Photoshop. And I'm just
That's
kidding.
right.
Well,
All right.
Surround
on
sound.
Thursday, Bill, on Thursday, my entire pitch for episode 9 is going to be all impressions. So
Oh, terrific. I'm so looking forward to that. So looking forward to that.
So, Lacey, John talked a little bit about the whole acting coach situation. Do you believe what he has to say? I mean, do you think the acting coach story is actually a legitimate concern, or do you think this rumor is a little bit more accurate and it's just kind of some foreign language difficulties?
I think it's one of those things that, from experience myself in the professional world, someone can see something and just assume and not know the truth behind the scenario. And I feel like on these sets, people are just grasping at straws for whatever they can get out of it because they are super secretive. So I can't see him actually having an acting coach per se, but maybe something like John said that's more of like mannerisms and learning to act and look like Han, and maybe trying to get him outside of that box that he's already been in. I mean, he's been in Hail Caesar and Rules Don't Apply. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
There's a reason they chose him. And I saw him at Celebration when they introduced him to the crowd, and he looks just like Han, and he's a great actor. So I can't see it being like literally like, this guy can't act.
He's kind of short though, isn't he?
It's probably
isn't he
hey.
kind of short on the short side.
He was a little on the shorter
Harrison
side.
Ford's like
yeah,
6'1".
definitely. But I mean, even John Boyega gave his stamp of approval too. He was like,
Yeah,
he looks
that's cool.
just like Han, and he was with Han
Well, I mean,
so much.
he can
on
have
The
a
Force
growth spurt
Awakens,
too. So I mean, just don't discount that.
Wearing those Kiss heels.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this is one of those things that people are blowing things out of proportion, and they're trying to pick apart anything they can to immediately be like, oh, well, he's not going to do a good job because clearly he's not Harrison. Well, obviously he's not. They're not trying to make him Harrison, but that doesn't mean he's not going to do a good job.
Well, we will find out next month when Solo comes out. I can't believe it's that close. Like, it still feels to me
insane.
like it's a December release, and then all of a sudden I'm just going to be like, what? It comes out this weekend? What the heck? You know?
Exactly.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. But we got more information to talk about. So, all right. So we know Reddit is not always the best place for news, but a Redditor did recently pop up with a picture of the back of a new toy from the Solo movie, which features John's favorite Enfys Nest and his quote-unquote swoop bike.
Bless you. Gesundheit.
Oh my God. Enfys Nest.
The back of the package talks about the quote-unquote Cloud Riders. Now, again, I want to point out that the Cloud Riders have a history in canon, but this time the story, in my opinion, really doesn't seem to line up with the things we're hearing about Solo. So then, John, I'm going to ask you, I'm coming after you first. This was a little bit more of a credible leak. I know you don't like the name Enfys Nest, but do you like the idea of him being the leader of a biker gang in the sky?
I love that.
Man.
He's changing it like every single time. Like it's a different pronunciation.
All right, here's my deal with Enfys Nest. It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm stuck on the whole taser face thing, you know?
Taser face?
Also, like, now that he's a leader of a biker gang called, what are they called? Cloud
Riders.
Cloud
Cloud Riders.
Cloud Riders. like now I'm thinking, and I haven't seen, him in action or them in action yet, but I'm thinking of two things. I'm thinking of the bikers in South Park. They're just like,
They don't think we're cool?
Yeah. And then I'm also thinking of like, is Enfys Nest Griff from Back to the Future 2? And he's just like, Gramps, I said wait in the car, Gramps. It's like, oh man, I don't know. I'm not vibing this villain at all. So I'm hoping there's another bigger secret villain going on in this movie. But I mean, he may be a good villain, but everything just sounds pretty cheese to me. I don't know. I'm not sold on Enfys Nest at all, man. I'm not buying his swoop bike action figure.
All right, Bill, there was a lot actually in this Star Wars Newsnet article. Further confirmation too that Kira is 18 early in the film, and she was associated with a gang, possibly these Cloud Riders. Do you think there's still a chance that she still maybe has an association with the gang? Is she going to, I don't know, be the person that sells Han out?
I think this is an interesting theory because it would make sense to why Han became so jaded and didn't trust anybody. Mm-hmm. There's clearly some sort of romantic affiliation between them. So I think they're going to go down that route, and I think they should, because it seems that like Han is more of an idealist in as a kid or when he was 18, as opposed to where we see him in A New Hope. You still see that, but like it's buried deep down, and I think this would be a compelling reason to show how he became that.
And Lacey, I'm going to ask you too, and we're going to have to kind of play detective here, but we see Enfys Nest on the desert planet in the trailer. We see this individual also on the snow-covered train heist planet as well.
Vandor.
Most of the main characters are also seen in both conditions. Is this a chance that all these scenes are actually the same planet? Planet Vandor, as John was saying, if the description of the back of a book called Train Heist is to be believed, but are we actually going to get our first multi-climate planet in Star Wars?
I don't think so, but I would like to also note how many desert and snow-covered planets are there in the Star Wars universe.
Hey man, how many planets are there in Star Wars? You got to think.
Oh my
There's only so many inhabitable ones. Everyone that's just kind of not inhabitable would probably be either too hot or too cold. So I actually think there's a higher percentage of these type of planets scientifically.
Science.
Thank you, James. I feel dumb.
Geologically speaking.
So you're saying this is not the same planet. Planet Vandor is something different, and the other one's a different planet.
Right, absolutely not. I mean, if you look at Force Awakens as an example, you have Rey on Jakku, and then she's in Takodana, and then she's in a snow planet. Like, they go to so many different planets on the course of any movie. There's no way this is the same one. I guarantee it's him following them somewhere, or he starts on the desert beach-looking one and then goes to the snow-covered one for the major battle of the movie. Yeah, I can't see them being the same planet. But seriously, like, how many snow planets are we going to get? Like,
but the Cloud Riders are still on the same planet. And if they're a gang, you think they're following?
Yeah, Knights of Ren travel with Kylo Ren, right?
Well, also,
right.
Or Kanja Club.
Rogue One.
Let the Kanja Club.
Yeah, Guavian Death Gang. Rogue One bopped around to a lot of planets, so maybe Solo's going to do that too.
They definitely do. They always do, especially the newer ones. I feel like they're on a different planet every 5 minutes with a weird transition.
Which I have to say, because I'm not a canon sometimes gets a little too big for me. Like, I'm glad that Rogue One gave me like labels, like this is this planet. I'm like, oh, okay. Cool.
Except Mustafar, and you didn't need that one because any true Star Wars fan would
didn't
know.
need that one. Yeah, and we'll hear more about that on Thursday's show.
100%. 100%.
Stop! I swear. Oh my gosh. Oh, man.
All right. Last on the docket this week, the last piece of news, we got the first excerpt from the upcoming Thrawn Alliance's novel by Timothy Zahn. We knew the basic premise of the book was going to be Thrawn and Vader teaming up, but the expert showed us the exact moment at which they find this out, and to some degree, why the Emperor would be placing these two rivals together and sending them off to a planet to deal with some interesting activity, as he puts it. So I'm just going to kind of leave it a little bit open floor here. Who read the excerpt?
Me.
I did.
All right, Bill, Lacey, John. All right, we all read it. All right. Bill, did you read Thrawn?
I got through half of it, and it just no disrespect to Timothy Zahn, but like it got a little too. I don't know what the word is without it.
Too thrown out.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's a really
John
good,
with the dad jokes.
That's the best way to put it. It wasn't my kind of Star Wars book it's not like high action or anything like that, which I know makes me sound like an idiot, but like it didn't roll as much as I like my Star Wars novels to roll. But this excerpt gets me really, really excited for the possibilities they could take this.
Because of the Vader factor?
Yes. I think one of the most interesting aspects of Thrawn that I was like, okay, this is really, really cool, was like when he mentioned Anakin Skywalker at the beginning of that novel. And I'm like, oh, well, tell me more about that. And so now that we're going to see that a little bit more, and we're going to a planet that we're actually going to see in Galaxy's Edge next year, I definitely think that dynamic between them, does he know, does he not know, is going to play a major factor in it. And that, to me, that's one of the coolest kind of, once again, it's kind of like, to me, like Aftermath. I didn't like the first one, but the second one really pulled me in. I have a feeling that that exact same thing could happen for this.
I do think the Galaxy's Edge thing is kind of interesting because, like, the story, we all knew they were kind of going to have a story associated with that planet or that place, but you would think it would be like, well, one time Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or something, but like to kind of put the focus on Thrawn, you know what I mean? Like this is a Thrawn heavy planet. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. What do you think about this, John?
I liked it too from the Palpatine angle. You're really seeing him manipulate the strengths and weaknesses of these two and playing them off each other, and kind of doing it in a way where he's just like, I'm still the boss.
Yep.
Like the old Irish guy in the movie The Town, where he's like, I did this with your fathers and I'm still in charge because look at me, I'm running you guys now. And it's
no impression? I was waiting for it.
We're done. This isn't an impressions podcast.
Come on. I was like, here it comes. Here it comes.
You shut your trap. So you have Vader who's emotional, and then you have Thrawn who's like tactical, and he's playing both those sides against each other, and that's the part that's really interesting to me because I'm a big Sheev Palpatine guy. I believe that villain. I believe how he became into power, and this just shows why he maintained his power for so long.
Exactly.
Yes.
So do you think it's similar to Kylo and Hux? It's basically the same dynamic.
We'll see. That next story is going to tell a lot, and I know we talked about last week about what we want out of Hux, and that's going to be a big part of it for me.
Because when I read this excerpt, that's what I thought of. I was like, this is kind of like Kylo and Hux, like the two servants that are like looking at each other and glaring to like side-eyeing
that's a good
each other.
point. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I do see that. I don't see Vader throwing Thrawn around or anything like that. I definitely think Thrawn's like 10 steps above Hux, but
yes,
you know, the Kylo Vader thing's pretty good, and then the whole like military leader versus Lord of the Sith is kind of very relative there too.
Emotional versus logical.
Yeah. I actually really liked in this excerpt how they were going back and forth. Like Vader was saying things to the Emperor that definitely put down Thrawn, but Thrawn held his tongue, and then Thrawn would say things that definitely like insulted and put down Vader, which is like,
yes,
you gotta be crazy to do it, but he did it, and Vader bit his tongue too, you know, so it's like
Does he still have a
this
tongue?
excerpt was probably I know. I hate you.
Oh, God.
No,
on your aspirations.
My favorite part was the last two lines of the excerpt, which is time for Thrawn to face his future and time for Vader to face his past. Like, oh man, what?
Man, it's definitely exciting. I did like the first Thrawn book, and I think I'm definitely gonna like the second one, but we got to move on, guys. There was so much that happened this week. We can't cover it all. We can't go into full details here. So I'm going to have to send it over to John Hoey for the Scoundrels Rundown.
All right. And if we're going to do this quick, then we're going to put this thing in a hyperspace. So punch it. The rundown is a changing, folks, as I'll be rapid fire checking in with these three about these topics. So let's get into it here. Disney's biennial, that's once every 2 years, thank you, Google, Expo event D23 will take place in Anaheim on August 23rd to the 25th next year in 2019. Star Wars will have a large presence there, obviously, as well as other Disney properties, and speculation begins, what will they showcase from Star Wars? The event will follow Star Wars Celebration, which will likely happen around April. Lacey, what do you think? D23, August 2019. We gonna get an episode 9 behind the scenes reel, perhaps a teaser for Favreau's live action series? Quick thought.
So I think that kind of content depends on when Celebration is. I've heard some rumblings of where and when it might be, and I can tell you right now, whenever they lock that in, it's going to determine what happens at D23. So if D23 comes before Celebration, you'll probably get some type of teaser. If it comes after Celebration, you'll probably get a behind-the-scenes reel. It really depends where it falls into the calendar.
Right on. Well, don't hold your breath, though, folks, as we won't find out for sure what is at D23 for a year and 5 months. So if we are all still here talking about it on the Resistance broadcast, that's a good sign for us. The Last Jedi is invading home theaters everywhere, and Entertainment Tonight released a gag reel from the film showing Boyega dancing, Hamill's funny faces, but the biggest attention went to Carrie Fisher and Oscar Isaac, who in the first thing they filmed for The Last Jedi took around 40 takes or so of Leia slapping Poe in the face. Bill, would you mind Carrie Fisher slapping you in the face 40 times?
She could slap me 50, 60, 70, 80. I would not care. That, to me, that's like such like a, like, I can't believe that, like, Oscar Isaac got to do that. That's so cool. Like, and it sounds weird that, like, yeah, I wish Carrie Fisher would hit me, or would have hit me, but, like, yeah, absolutely. I would take it all day and then twice on Sunday. Is that how you say that? I don't know. I'm a bilennial. I'm a bilennial, as the kids say.
I'd let her hit me, too, so I don't know why I'm laughing at you. I'd let her hit me.
I would hit Bill, too. So,
yeah, same.
I'd say, please hit me again.
Now, the clip also did briefly show Mark Hamill in a cockpit. Now, I wonder if Rian Johnson toyed with the idea of Luke flying again, but we may never know. Former Solo directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller have accepted the titles of executive producers as their credits for Solo: A Star Wars Story, further stoking the flames of speculation that a lot of what they directed for the film was ditched for Ron Howard's 4-month-long shoot. In October, we broke a scoop that we received to you that Ron Howard likely reshot upwards of 80% of this thing. James, did we nail it or did we nail it?
Yeah, we definitely nailed it. And I definitely think that the whole, like, them getting the credit is still just, like, just due. Like, it doesn't matter if they scrapped everything that they did. At the same time, like, they still worked on the picture and it still, like, led to other things. Like, even if a voice character comes in and they did work on the film, they still get credit later in the end of the movie. So I think that they deserve the credit. And to be honest with you, not all of their ideas were completely scrapped. Like, if they built a set, they still used the set. You know what I mean? It's not like the whole thing is completely,
and that would
like,
fall under production.
Yeah, so production, executive producer. Yeah, they put it together. So.
All right, well, I'm going to give the three of you executive producer credit for this rundown, so good job. Yes. For all of your Star Wars... All
right, I can quit my job.
For all of your Don't do that. For all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, and information like this, go to our website, starwarsnewsnet.com, every day. And that is it for this week's rundown. Time to check in with Bill so we can answer some of your tweets in #AskTheResistance. So, Chewie, get us out of here.
Hey, Crumb, $6 if you don't laugh. All right, guys, we went back to the question bank for #AskTheResistance this week. Our first question this week comes from Agent 37 at Theta Musa. With Leia, Holdo, and Akbar gone, who will be in charge of the Resistance? Poe is still better as a fighter pilot, in my opinion. Lando, ? Chewie, ? Maz Kanata, ? Lacey, what do you think?
So first of all, I can't believe Akbar ended the way he did. Yeah. I'm still crying inside. He was like my favorite character, and I thought that it was just kind of a throwaway, but we'll get into that another time. Lando, no. Chewie, he's basically Ray's dog right now. No.
Boo.
Maz Kanata.
Boo.
Maz Kanata is too busy like fighting her union workers, so no. I would say that, Poe showed the ability to be a leader, but he also messed up a ton of stuff in The Last Jedi. I would love it if Finn stepped up as the leader of the Resistance. You have someone that was a stormtrooper, like raised to be on the bad side, and here he is stepping up to be the leader of the Resistance. And you saw a little bit of that at the end of The Last Jedi, where he said, "No, like we can do this, we can stand together." And I'd love to see Finn take that role.
Good answers. All right. our
I also saw John Boyega this weekend, so wink.
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 We may know a thing or two. Anyway, on to the next one. Our second question comes from Brandon at It's B Anthony. He asks, in the Rebels finale, it was confirmed that Rex survived the entire galactic civil war. So what do you think about the fate of Wolf? Do you think that he also survived, but just didn't get mentioned? Furthermore, where do you think the story will go with Rex? Hashtag Ask the Resistance. James Baney.
Honestly, I hate to be a downer on this, but like, I just don't think they're ever really going to tackle that. I don't think Rex is a big enough character that they're ever going to give him like a book or something. I think like he might just get mentioned somewhere along the lines. I think that Wolf even more so, you know, they're I don't know that they'll ever really address Wolf. I think you're just going to be left to assume that both of them passed naturally after, you know, the Battle of Jakku or something along those lines. Like they might have been able to make it all the way until then, because that was what 1 year or 5 years. I can never remember.
Five seems like a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just one.
So then 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, so theoretically, he probably still could have made it through the Battle of Jakku. I don't know. There we go. There's your answer. I think
know.
that Rex died in the Battle of Jakku.
Oh.
So what about Forces of Destiny?
Oh my God.
The Forces of Destiny story
That was so bad.
You're in the wrong place.
With Rex. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
All right.
I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Gotcha.
I think they would start up that episode and then they'd go, Who is this? What? I thought this was about like Ray and
Yeah.
what? No.
He
Who is this
died.
old orange guy?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what's going
Exactly.
on.
Let's add more porgs. Let's add more porgs.
But don't take any pictures of those porgs.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
That's good call. Really good call. We learned that the hard way. All right.
You could take pictures once the show floor was open.
That's-
Asterisk.
Mhm, that's true. That's true. I don't have a phone anymore. Anyway, our next question comes from Evan at Harrisev9, and he asks, how soon into episode 9 do you think Hux and other radical First Order members will try to throw a coup against Kylo Ren? Hashtag Ask the Resistance.
Wait, you didn't give this question to me? I'm offended.
Hey,
ahead.
John, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first I gotta say, Evan, thanks for really just being the keeper of the flame to keep the Kylo Ren thing going in Star Wars March Madness. You were so passionate about it, so that's why Kylo's in the Final Four. So be sure tomorrow to vote for Kylo Ren or Han Solo. They're both my characters because I pick good characters. James is not in it anymore.
Boo. You guys voted out Chewbacca. Come
And
on.
Lacey wasn't here. To fairness to her, she wasn't here yet. But how soon into episode 9? I think immediately, because I think there's going to be a 3 to 5 year jump. So I think he's going to be having already started this thing, and they're going to play a little cat and mouse. But listen in on Thursday, because I have some more thoughts on this. I don't want to give too many of those away now. But Evan, that's a great question. I think you and I are on the same page there, and you're awesome, man. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely. You are awesome, Evan. Thank you so much, man. All right. Our last question comes from Tyler Brusso at Brusso_Tyler. And he asks, what are your guys' favorite memory of Star Wars? And we're just going to go around real quick and talk about our favorite memories with Star Wars. So go ahead. Let's start with James.
I don't know necessarily about favorite memory, but like when I was in high school, I'll never forget that I liked Star Wars a lot, but I remember it was late night. I was in my garage. We just finished up work. My parents used to have their own business. Don't worry about that. And I said to my brother, I said, dude, we should go see Revenge of the Sith tonight. And he was like, why? We'll just go like another time or whatever. And I was like, no, dude, it's the midnight premiere, man. This could be the last time we ever get to see Star Wars at a midnight premiere. Let's go. And I convinced him and we went, and it was just kind of cool, because my brother's a lot older than I am, so, to be able to convince him to do something with me was kind of cool at the time, and we connected over Star Wars in that sense. So that's kind of like one of my, I guess you could say it was like a favorite memory. I mean, I've had a lot of like really incredible stuff happen with Star Wars, but I don't know. I don't think I'll ever forget that story of convincing my brother to go see the last Star Wars movie we'll ever see in theaters, which is
the last
funny.
Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, Lacey, what's your favorite memory of Star Wars?
There's so many. I would, off the top of my head, the one I'm thinking of is from 2015 Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim. We were in the panel for The Force Awakens. and they announced that they had a trailer, and then they played the trailer, and there was this moment right after it ended that everybody just started screaming. And then the lights came up, and I remember turning around, and I have this video. I'll have to post it on social. I have it still, of me panning from the front of the stage because I was doing social media and going from left to right, and you just saw so many different ranges of emotion ranges. It was like one guy was crying, like grown men were crying after he said Chewie, we're home, like crying. And then you had these guys that were just like, yeah, just like raging and like punch slapping each other. And then you had people jumping up and down, and it was just this energy, like such an energy in the room that you couldn't avoid being so excited. And I remember standing there and I was screaming, and I was so pumped that I didn't even realize I was screaming until like halfway through the scream with everybody else. And then Anthony from Entertainment Weekly came out and was like, do you guys want to see it again? And everyone was like, are you kidding? Of course we do. And it was like this crazy moment that I'll never forget with like, 5,000 hardcore Star Wars fans with all their lightsabers up in the air. Hands down my favorite.
Sick.
John, what's your favorite memory of Star Wars?
It has to be being lucky enough to go to the world premiere of The Last Jedi, man.
Oh, did you go? I hadn't heard.
Rub it in.
I hadn't heard that. That's really cool.
Rubbing it in.
That whole. I mean, you asked me what it is, and this is what it is. Okay, so deal with it. That whole experience, man, just walking up and like doing the Wayne's World thing where I take my pass and I'm just holding it up like I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. And, like I did 2 laps around the red carpet. You're not supposed to. I just went back around, did another lap. Just seeing all the actors and stuff. Then I saw Frank Oz and I was like, what's he doing here? And I'm like, And then I found out why he was there. And then just seeing the movie and everything, just the whole experience, the after party, seeing Bob Iger eating a quesadilla, like just like weird stuff. But it was just a really great experience. I'm lucky to have gone to it, and I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. So that's got to be it, man.
Absolutely. These are all so good. I guess for me, it goes back to the original, like what got me into Star Wars. And for me, I remember this very, very vividly. My mom had a big baggy brown sweater, and this was when I was like 3 or 4, and I remember my mom walking up the stairs, and this was like right when they had first shown Star Wars to me, and this I was addicted from the get-go. And I remember her coming up the stairs, and I had my hood up, and then she came up, and when I saw her face, I took my hood off and said, hello there.
Wow.
And so it's kind of like, I don't know why, it just stayed with me. And it's not like, it's not going to the premiere, or it's not going or being at Celebration. It's that little moment where I was like, okay, that's stuck with me. And so I think that's why it's my favorite memory, is just because it's so early, and it's just such a, I don't think powerful is the word, but like just it's resonated with me since then. So that's definitely my favorite memory of Star Wars. So
very sweet.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely.
Oh, now I feel like an idiot.
I feel like a vain. I feel like a
personal.
vain dick. I talked about Bob Iger eating a quesadilla.
No, that was mine. That was yours. There's nothing wrong with that. That's 100% cool. Thank you guys so much for asking us questions. If you want to hear your question on Ask the Resistance, just send us the question and then end it with hashtag Ask the Resistance. Thank you guys so much. John, why don't you end it for us?
Thank you, Bill, and thank you for all of your questions. Keep them coming. Like Bill said, use the hashtag #AskTheResistance. You'll get on the show, too. Most importantly, thank you for listening, subscribing, and spreading the word of our show. We just blew right past 2,200 followers on Twitter, and we have you to thank for that, so thank you so much. Make sure you and your friends are subscribed to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube, so you are ready for our episodes and our big announcements. It's good to be an official part of the Resistance, and you can only do that by listening and subscribing. Be sure to check in on our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com, every day to stay up to date on all of the latest Star Wars news and information. And we have a great comic and book review team keeping you up to speed on the latest in canon material. James, where can our listeners find you?
We can always find me at MeyerChunks on Twitter and on Instagram. And that's where you can find me.
All right. And at the midnight showing of Revenge of the Sith 13 years ago.
Yeah, I was there 13 years ago. That's where you can find me.
You can use a Jedi portal and go back to that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Lacey, where are you at?
I am probably talking about Kylo Ren on Twitter at Lacey Gillerin. So find me there.
And Bill, where can people find you?
As always, you can find me at Star Wars Bill. Thanks for talking Star Wars with me. May the Force be with you.
All right, and you can find me creating awful play on words and on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing on StarWarsNewsNet.com. We will be right back here with you on Thursday, where you will be playing the role of Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, and we will be pitching you our stories for Episode 9. So keep those S-foils locked in position, and we'll see you Thursday morning right here on the Resistance broadcast.